Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boys Jack and Dave here. We're going to be delivering you some transfer news so you don't have to do it yourself. And we're going to zip on through it today because there's not exactly a whole lot out there. And we're going to be starting with first the sporting director. And Levy is continuing to lean on Spurs' former managing director, Fabio Paratici, who resigned his post in April for advice in the transfer market. But Spurs remain actively searching for a new sporting director. That's come from Dan Kilpatrick of the Evening Standard. We sort of feel like Paratici is still pulling the strings. You can't really kill the Don, Dave, and I think we're starting to learn that. But at some stage, it's going to become like almost too obvious that Paratici is basically being leaned on and used as sort of the guy for advice. I mean, Levy's got to maybe make it a bit less obvious, don't you think? He's taking his time.
Look, it's so obvious that Paratici is still acting as a DOF, but in an advisory role. So obvious. You look at even some of the deals that's happened. You know, Pedro Porro is being paid for. Kulu deal, didn't have to take him up, but we did. You know, Vicario, you'd only say the only one that maybe doesn't have Paratici's fingerprints on it, probably Madison, you would say. But, you know, it's clear that he's still working for the club in that regard. The club are still using his tactics, Jack, where they negotiate with a couple of players and pick the best price. And we've seen that, you know, in terms of the goalkeeper, and you're probably going to see it with centre-backs, the amount of targets we've got lined up there as well. So I don't buy this one whatsoever, to be honest with you. I think it's just sort of... Because it went completely dead, right? Before the sporting director was all, oh, how can we do business? We've got no sporting director, this, that, and the other. But then since we've started doing business, all the talk of sporting director or director of football, it's all completely gone out of the window. No one's even caring about it right now because of all the signings that have coming in. But, yeah, I don't buy this one. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get one.
I think it's just one of those blank positive statements that you just say from time to time, kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm working out a bit more, or I'm planning on working out, losing some weight, you know, those sort of things. You know, you're kind of just saying it to sound nice, but, you know, maybe really always mean it. HOJBJERG here, everybody. There's kind of still a bit of momentum, or at least there's not really any news that's suggesting that he is, you know, firmly staying here, and it's not really going away, these Atletico rumors. And it's come again from Charlie Eccleshare, actually, of The Athletic. I think he was one of the first to report on it. And he said, HOJBJERG and Spurs are open to a move for the midfielder this summer. No negotiations yet between Spurs and Atletico or any other club, but he'd be allowed to leave if satisfactory offers came in. He turns 28 in August and has 2 years left on his contract. I think we're going to make a big, you know, video about why maybe it is, you know, a good idea to keep HOJBJERG around, and maybe why he's been, for maybe good reasons, maybe bad reasons, such a divisive guy. But I feel like, Dave, he's one of the good mentalities in the squad. He's one of the players that we've always thought that should be kept around because he represents the leadership, and he also represents that accountability that we get so little from other players. And I think also as well, a lot of his passing range and his, you know, his ability on the ball gets sort of slandered and kind of you know, disregarded, when it's actually a lot better than Skips and maybe some other midfielders in the team as well. So I don't know. I think it would be a shame to see HOJBJERG go. I would demand at least 40 million. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, look, for me, I've seen a report today saying that potentially Eric Dyer might be kept around because of the lack of leadership in and around the squad. I mean, no mention of HOJBJERG there, so they'll mention it for Dyer to keep him around. You know, don't mention HOJBJERG in the same breath, which is astonishing for me, considering this is a guy that plays virtually every game, every single season. I think he's missed less than 10 since he started here at Tottenham under Jose Mourinho, which is impressive, always available, dependable. I think where the biggest probably skepticism comes around with HOJBJERG in the Ange Postecoglou team is probably the mobility of him. So some would say maybe he's a bit stiff. But look, for me, I would much rather keep him. I think Skip needs another loan to go and develop. I don't think he's a Premier League player yet, you know, and I would like you've got Ndombele and Lo Celso to get rid of before you even consider getting rid of HOJBJERG. And I said this in a podcast a few weeks ago, Jack, getting worried about some of the conversations that are happening. We had, should we sell Sonny? We've had, should we sell Kane? We've had, should we get rid of Romero? Now we're on to HOJBJERG. I mean, I just feel like we're picking on the wrong players in the squad, in my opinion. I think the conversation should actually be geared more around people who don't offer anything to this football club. And HOJBJERG is one that has offered something to this football club. And I would caution, you know, if you're going to have James Maddison, Son, Kane, and Kulu all in one team, You need someone behind them that's going to mop
Yeah.
up play. You need someone that's going to just get after the ball, turn it over, and give it back to them boys to go and play again. And when you look at HOJBJERG and compare his stats, there's not too many out there that are much better than him in that role.
I saw a team even with, people are putting out their 11s, their ideal 11s. I saw somebody put out a team of Udogie and Pedro Porro as fullbacks, and then a midfield of Bentancur, Madison, as well as HOJBJERG. And as much as I love all of those players, and as much as I also love Bentancur, I sort of thought to myself, like, who's going to make a tackle like in this team? Who's actually going to go and get stuck in? As much as Bentancur is a brilliant player, he can't do it all on his own. There are just far too many players in there that just don't want to get stuck in. And that's what maybe we lose sight of with players like HOJBJERG. You have them in there for a reason because they can offer that and they don't complain. Harry Kane, Dave, I think these rumors aren't really going to go away, but at the same time, I think Bayern Munich are going to start to get pretty deterred by sort of Daniel Levy's kind of a stubbornness as well as sort of his firmness on everything. And it's come out from David Ornstein, the guy who originally broke the news, I believe, from The Athletic about Bayern Munich being interested in Kane. And he said Bayern Munich will come back for Harry Kane this summer, but Tottenham are expected to dismiss all offers. And it also was said on Chris Callan's actually last night with Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs basically said that Spurs are sort of on auto reject when it comes to anything that comes in for Harry Kane, unless it hits a certain number that we're not even that aware of. It might be 100 million. It could be more than 100 million. But there is a certain number that maybe they wouldn't auto reject to, but pretty much any offer that comes in below what they sort of consider to be something to consider, they'll just basically send an auto email in response saying, we're out on vacation. Nice try. Better luck next time. So I don't know, Dave. Bayern Munich, will they come back?
Look, I've no doubt they'll come back, but I don't think they'll be able to afford what Tottenham are looking for this guy, and that's what they have to meet ultimately at the end of the day. I don't think anyone knows the price. Look, I'm hazarding a guess. If Man City didn't want to pay the money to get Harry Kane out of here, I'm hazarding a guess Bayern Munich's not going to find the money to get him out of here. Look, all summer long, the reports have been driven from the Bayern club's side. The whole Bayern Munich thing about Harry Kane supposed to be talking to them and everything else, driven from the Bayern side. The whole Madrid rumours, driven from the Madrid side. The Man United rumours, driven from Man United's side. There's nothing from any reputable Spurs journalists that are involved in and around the club that has come out and said it's true that, this guy's representatives have been out talking to the club. It's true that he's opened to Bayern Munich. Absolutely zilch. And we've just got to understand, when you've got world-class players, they're going to be linked every single window. Yeah. It's how these people get their clicks, their likes, everything else, by using world-class players and linking them here, there, and everywhere. I'm not surprised this is happening, especially with 1 year left on his contract. But I do not see Tottenham bringing in James Maddison and letting Harry Kane go. Surely the whole idea of bringing James Maddison in is to supply Harry Kane. Take him away from the creativity, get him back to scoring goals. He scored 30 goals last year in a team that was absolutely shit with no creativity. Imagine how many he's going to get this year with James Maddison. Right now, it'd be absolute stupidity to let this guy go. I have a feeling that Tottenham are trying to sign the players so that towards the end of the transfer window, maybe deadline day, because Spurs love a contract renewal on deadline day. That's sort of what our business on deadline day is. I reckon they're going to get all the players in place first and then pitch the new project to Harry Kane. And let's see what happens. But until then, I don't see anything else happening.
Yeah. Best of luck to you, Bayern, but I don't think it's going to happen, and you better not take our Harry Kane away. Ivan Perisic has been also kind of rumored with some links away. Saudi clubs as well as Fenerbahce have contacted Tottenham about Ivan Perisic. Again, that kind of comes from Ben Jacobs, like I said the other night, who's from CBS Sports, who's speaking to Chris Callan. And when asked about Perisic, he said, yeah, there's interest from clubs in Saudi Arabia who would be able to afford his wages because he's on, I think, something close to 180 grand a week. I think it's slightly less. Say that again, Dave.
178K a week, $2,000 off it. Madness.
Oh, geez. I think Spurs probably have no intention of keeping him around on those sort of wages. I imagine the Turkish clubs aren't really able to support those kind of wages, especially for a guy that's on, his age as well. But there's also this thing with Perisic that he's never really struck me as a guy that would actually go to Saudi Arabia to pick up that sort of big wage packet. I think he does enjoy trying to play at the top level. People speak about how much he thinks about keeping his body in shape, and he tries to sort of, count every single calorie that goes in, every calorie that goes out, type of guy. And he wants to continue to play, I think, as long as he can. I think he's a bit like Luka Modric, where he's maybe not as interested sort of in the big wage packets or anything like that. He's just more interested in playing at the top level with whatever club can offer it to him. And I feel like even Perisic probably ideally wants to go back to an Inter Milan if they're willing to take him on. But he obviously can't, for maybe literal reasons, family reasons, financial reasons, can't cut his wages, like I think, completely in half. So he has probably a difficult decision ahead about what he sort of goes for and who can maybe take up that, wage demand.
I don't think he'll want to cut his wages in half on the age he's at either, Jack.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't.
That sort of retirement money, that you're putting in the bank to get you a few years past retirement and stuff like that. Look,
but he still wants to play at a high level, I think, too. He strikes me.
100%. You seen how motivated he was to come to the Premier League. But the reality is, if he wants, Saudi Arabia, what's Perisic, 34, 35 now? You never know. He might end up taking that route to Saudi to go and get that retirement fund. You just don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did get back to Italy or Fenerbahce. Like you said, he does really love football. Look, when it comes to Perisic, I think he done what we signed him for. Many people go, he can't defend. But the same people then, were moaning about Regular Necessio not being able to attack. This guy came in here. He got 12 assists last season. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. We've had a change of manager. He's not going to get into the team at left back because he's not good enough defensively. And he ain't going to start over Sonny. And you can't have a squad player on 178k a week. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tottenham maybe trying to offload him. What I will say is, though, if he goes, we will have to look to bring in someone else in that sort of forward area, because I think you've got the Asian Games coming up in January. I think I read somewhere that potentially, I think AFCON could be around the same time as well. So, we are going to need, if he does go, we are going to need someone else in.
There we go. Udogie's agent has been saying some strange things. I'm going to kind of read them aloud. I mean, take them how you will, but I just figured they kind of are worth sort of reporting on. He said, when I think speaking to Football Italia, or I believe it might have been Gazzetta dello Sport, and by the way, this has actually come from Football Italia where I've gotten it. And he said he is a Tottenham player, and we had contact over the last few days because they changed the management and the coach will play 4-3-3 rather than the 3-5-2. Postecoglou is absolutely convinced that Udogie will have space, but the Italian clubs are calling because some feel he needs another step before making a move, perhaps in a top club like Juventus, Milan, or Inter. I have received a call from Tottenham technical area today and asked to confirm the plan, which is to go on tour in Thailand. They guarantee the importance of the player as of today, and we will evaluate everything. He is a Tottenham player. Destiny Udogie's agent there, Dave. I mean, strange. I feel like, yeah, he's going to go to training. Like, he is going to be there. Like, why wouldn't he be? And also, I guess we'll find out. And Postecoglou has to make that judgment, whether he can only play in a back three or a back five and can't make that step up to be a left back and a back four. But I don't know. It's like weird that his agent, at least in my eyes, is sort of flirting with other clubs or flirting with a move away.
Well, I think there was something not so long ago as well about, I think Tottenham were the only one that sort of stumped up the cash for him, and that if he had offers in Italy, potentially he would have stayed. So I question how much he actually really sort of wants to make that move to the Premier League. Look, I understand the agent's concerns, maybe around the 4-3-3 to the 3-5, or from the 3-5-2 to the 4-3-3. I get it, right? A lot of people talk about Jed Spence. How do we know he can play right back? They say the same about Porro. How do we know he can play right back? But then everyone just assumes that Destiny Udogie is going to walk straight in at left back. The guy's never played left back. It's always been left wing back. He hasn't had that defensive responsibility. He still has to learn how to keep a straight line when you play in a back four, this, that, and the other. So there's going to be adaptation periods for Destiny Udogie coming in here. However, the club ain't going to spend the money they spent on him just to send him out on loan again. It's like, I just don't get it. Like, regardless, get the, like, you don't need to be out. If I was a Dozier, I'd be frustrated with my agent, because that doesn't need to be out there. Let me go to Tottenham. Let me work my hardest. Let's see what the story is. And then maybe come towards the end of the window. If I'm not in the squad or there is no plans for me, I can look for something. But I don't need to put this out there and sort of cast doubt around my Spurs future before I've even arrived at the football.
No, I think that's exactly spot on there. He doesn't need that sort of attention. He doesn't need this type of bad press, if you want to call it that, before the training. And also, too, I mean, we did the same thing with Papa Montasar. We had him go out on loan after buying him, but it's not like we sent him out on loan again. Some people had said that maybe we should, but I was saying, like, you got to let him play in a Spurs kit. You got to let him realize which club he's actually playing for, which club he actually belongs to, and which club he's supposed to be making his dream debut for. And if you keep sending them out on loan like that, they're going to eventually kind of become disassociated and a bit disillusioned with the club. I mean, this is a different player entirely, but I think that's happening to Brian Hill and could even happen to a Jet Spence. You never know. They just sort of getting shipped out on loan, and eventually they're probably just not going to feel like they really have much of a shot ever with the team. And I don't want that to happen to a real talent like Destiny Udogie here. So spot on there, Dave. Spot on. But I think that's all the news we could gather here today, everybody. I have seen some breaking news just recently come out when it comes to Tosin Adarabioyo from Ali Gold. I guess he's saying that Spurs, of course, have been keeping a keen eye on him for kind of a while now and have sort of been scouting him. I would say that's kind of a bit of a repeat of news that I believe Dave delivered to you probably in the past when it came to Tosin Adarabioyo. And then also as well, he's saying that there are some Premier League clubs as well as League clubs that are interested in Joe Rodon. Not much of a surprise there. And also good news to see that Joe Rodon is looking for kind of moves outside, because I did feel like he's a guy that we all expect to be leaving, but haven't been hearing any concrete news about who's actually interested in him. So Ali Gold just broke that as we were recording this.
I'm sure Alfie Dorrington will be absolutely delighted. He's sitting there going, dar, dar, dar. Another one bites the dust. And he's just seeing his free space, seeing spaces being cleared up for him to come through. Joe Rodon, he has to go. Not good enough for Tottenham. 25 now. Bon voyage.
Alrighty, everybody. Hit that like button, please, for us on the way out. Feel free to leave a comment down below on any news that you felt like maybe is worth talking about a bit deeper next time. And also let us know your thoughts on maybe HOJBJERG, KANE, and some big players leaving Spurs this summer. Big summer clear out. And also as well, everybody, feel free to grab a membership if you want to support the channel with all the various things we put out there for you guys. Look out for some new content this weekend, and we will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange we trust.